The cafeteria was buzzing with chatter, clattering trays, and the sound of sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Lunchtime was usually the loudest part of the school day, and for most kids, it was their break from the endless monotony of math problems and history lectures. But for Sarah, it was the part of the day she dreaded most. Sarah had been in a wheelchair since she was 9, after a car accident stole not just her ability to walk but also a large part of her confidence. She was quiet, gentle, and never fought back when people mocked her. That day, she had rolled herself to a corner table, balancing her tray carefully on her lap. She didn't like being in the middle of the cafeteria. She preferred the edges, where she could eat in peace and avoid the constant stares. She had just picked up her sandwich when a shadow fell over her. 3 figures loomed, blocking the light, smirking in that cruel, practiced way only bullies know. "Hey, Wheels," sneered Jake, the tall, broad-shouldered leader of the group. "Having fun down there?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. His 2 friends, Kyle and Brandon, laughed obnoxiously, already sensing where this was going. Sarah kept her eyes on her sandwich, hoping that if she ignored them they would lose interest. But ignoring bullies rarely worked. Jake's eyes gleamed with mischief, and in his hand he held a large cup of orange juice, condensation dripping down its side. "You look thirsty," he said, his smirk widening. Before Sarah could even react, Jake tipped the entire cup forward, spilling the sticky liquid all over her tray, her clothes, and her lap. The cold splash made her gasp, her sandwich floating in a puddle of juice. Her blouse was soaked through, and her hands trembled as she tried to brush it off. The cafeteria went silent for a moment before erupting into laughter. Some kids looked shocked but did nothing. Others pulled out their phones, recording the cruel scene. Sarah's face burned red, tears stinging her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Oops," Jake said mockingly, holding up the empty cup. "Wiss you can't roll away fast enough." The 3 boys high-fived each other as if they had accomplished something worthy of applause. Sarah's heart pounded. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor so no one could see her humiliation. She bent her head low, gripping the wheels of her chair, preparing to leave as quickly as possible. But just as she turned, another voice cut through the laughter, a voice that carried power, fire, and a tone that silenced even the cruelest jokes. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Heads turned as the voice echoed. It was Aaliyah, tall, athletic, and striking, her dark skin glowing under the cafeteria lights. She wasn't just another student. She was the kind of girl who radiated confidence, who walked into a room and made people notice. Most people knew her because she played varsity basketball. But what they didn't know was that behind her quiet demeanor lay years of training in martial arts. She wasn't someone who looked for trouble, but she wasn't about to let cruelty slide either. Jake rolled his eyes. "Mind your business, Aaliyah. We're just having some fun." Fun. Aaliyah's voice cut like a knife. She stepped closer, her jaw tight. "You think humiliating a girl in a wheelchair is fun? You think pouring juice on someone who can't even defend herself makes you a man?" The cafeteria grew quieter. Students stopped mid-bite, their eyes shifting between the bullies and Aaliyah. Kyle snickered. "Relax, hero. We didn't hurt her. She's fine." Sarah's fingers dug into the wheels of her chair, her chest heavy with shame and fear. But a spark lit in her heart when she saw Aaliyah standing tall, unafraid. No one had ever spoken up for her like that. Aaliyah crouched slightly to meet Sarah's eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Sarah nodded quickly, though her trembling hands told the truth. Jake smirked, sensing the growing tension. "Why don't you sit down, Aaliyah, and mind your own plate? You don't want to mess with us." Aaliyah stood tall again, her eyes narrowing. She wasn't afraid. She had seen people like Jake before, loud, arrogant, and convinced no one could challenge them. She had trained too long and seen too much injustice to let this slide. "Mess with you," she said slowly, her voice steady but deadly. "I think you're about to learn what a real mess feels like." A ripple of excitement spread across the cafeteria. The bullies laughed nervously, but their laughter didn't carry the same confidence as before. Something about Aaliyah's presence unsettled them. She wasn't bluffing. She wasn't posturing. She was promising something, and everyone could feel it. Sarah looked up, her chest tightening. For years she had endured this cruelty in silence. But now, for the first time, someone was standing up for her. Someone wasn't afraid of the bullies. And Sarah's heart whispered a truth she had buried long ago. Maybe she wasn't as invisible as she thought. The next 20 minutes would change everything. Because Aaliyah wasn't going to let them walk away this time.